Hey everybody, it's Matt, and I thought I would do a second video. I started in on Ringo album reviews this morning, and I already posted a review for Sentimental Journey, his first album. So now we're going to move to his second one. And yeah, if anybody, and I always say this at the beginning of these, anybody that doesn't know, I'm reviewing all the solo Beatle albums in order of release. I've done the Paul and George albums. So now I'm moving on to the Ringo albums. How long it'll take me to get through all 65 Ringos or however many albums he has, we'll see. It'll be interesting, I think. Of course, John after that. So, what? Sentimental Journey, I forgot to say in the earlier video that I think one drawback of that album is Ringo's voice, which can be okay at times, but that being an album of old pop standards from the 40s and 50s, Ringo, for everything that he is, he's no Sinatra, Bing Crosby, voice wise anyway. But that being said, that album's okay. But this album is much more suited, I think, to his vocal abilities and talents. And it's Beaucoups of Blues, which came out on September 26 in 1970. So, two albums in 1 year, three if you count Let It Be. So yeah, and it didn't chart wise, did not do as well as Sentimental Journey. It got to number 65 in the United States, 35 on the U.S. country chart. Didn't even chart in England, so that's a little bit surprising. But here's the cover. Here's the back. There's track listing and Ringo and all the musicians that play on the album with him. He went to Tennessee, Nashville, to record this and recorded it in like 4 or 5 days. Lyrics to the songs, and then there's just some other pictures of the Ringo and the guys that play on the record. So yeah, the other another drawback for me on reviewing this album is that it's country music, which has never been my favorite music. It's probably one of my least favorite genres of music. Nothing against it personally. It's just never done it for me. Very few exceptions. I do like some Johnny Cash, a little bit of Hank Williams, and I like some of the really old stuff like the Carter Family, Jimmy Rogers singing Brakeman, things like that. But most country just pretty much leaves me cold. But that's okay. Ringo likes it. He was, even before he was in the Beatles, when he was a kid, he loved the cowboy movies, and he dreamed of getting to Texas and becoming a cowboy, and I think he even went so far as to write to the Houston Chamber of Commerce at one point when he was a teenager. And we all know Act Naturally, which he covered in the Beatles, and his two Beatles songs, Don't Pass Me By and What Goes On, have a very country flavor to them. And in fact, some of the Beatles songs are slightly countryish. Some of George's guitar playing and some of the songs like I Don't Want to Spoil the Party and so forth. George was a big country fan too, and I think they all were to some extent. But so this really suits Ringo. He met this guy named Pete Drake, who was a Nashville musician who somehow had something to do with the All Things Must Pass album, playing with George on that album on some sessions. They got to talking, and Ringo started talking about his love for country music, and Drake convinced him to come down to Nashville. So I don't know if Ringo drums on this album or not. He didn't play any instruments on his first album. He just sang. But he didn't write any of the songs. These guys down in Nashville wrote all the songs for him. And so wrote him pretty quick and got him down there. And he was only down there for a few days and recorded it on the fly and got it done really quick. But even though I'm not a huge country fan, I think this is a pretty solid album, and I do enjoy it when I pull it out and play it. This is another one that when I started collecting Beatle records and solo records in the 70s, this is one that I kept putting off and didn't get it till much later. And also don't remember ever hearing any of this on the radio, with the exception of I know I heard the title track time or two back in the 70s, but when I finally got it, it surprised me that it was better than I was expecting it to be, even not being a huge country fan. And where Ringo probably shocked fans with Sentimental Journey with doing old pop standards, which was a very surprising and out of the ordinary thing for a rock and roll pop singer to be doing in 1970. Since then, a lot of people have done pop standard albums. Pretty much the same with country for a rock and roll band, rock and roll singer to be doing that. Not totally unprecedented again. The Byrds had Sweetheart of the Rodeo in 68 or 69, Buffalo Springfield, some things like that. But to do a whole album of straight country was probably pretty surprising, and it probably had fans wondering, he did these old pop songs from the 30s and 40s. Now he's doing old time country music. What's he going to do next? Is he going to make a classical album, or who knows? But anyway, he did the country album. So let's get into the songs. And the good thing about this is this is the old time country sound, the old 40s, 50s into the 60s. So it's not, because as much as I dislike country music, even worse is the stuff that they call, or the modern country music of the last 20, 30 years, which is just completely worthless in my opinion. At least this stuff from the 50s and 60s, 40s, which I don't much care for personally, but I'm never going to say those people don't have talent and it's not good music, because it is. It's just not. It's just not for me. But anyway, so the title track is a good opener. It's just sort of your old time country. I give it a 7. The second song on side 1, Love Don't Last Long, just sounds like an old honky tonk club like you'd hear at a country bar. Pretty good, pretty decent. I'm going to give it a 6. Third song, Fastest Growing Heartache in the West. At this point, for me, not being a huge country fan, these songs are kind of starting to sound all the same with the pedal steel guitar and the wah, 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 sound. And but Ringo's voice is good, and his voice really suits the material here throughout the album, so I'll give him that. But Fastest Growing Heartache in the West, it's all right. I'm going to give it a 5. The things do pick up, though, surprisingly. The fourth song, Without Her, it's a really nice ballad, which is kind of more rock and pop than country. Still has touches of country in it, though, definite touches of country, but it skates more a little towards rock and pop. Really good, nice ballad. I'm going to give that a 7. Fifth song on a side 1 is called Woman of the Night. It's about a hoe. So it's a funny song about a prostitute, and Ringo, or the singer, whoever, is smitten by the prostitute woman. So I give that a 6. It's kind of a fun song. It's not cornball like a lot of country music is, but it's just a nice little ballad about a hoe. So sixth song on the side 1 is I'll Be Talking All the Time. It's just typical old time country song. Again, sort of sounding the same as a lot of the other songs on side 1 to a point, but Ringo does it well, seems to be getting into it. And just like he did with Sentimental Journey, on all the songs on this album, he really seems to be having fun and enjoying it and getting into making the music here. So but yeah, I'll be talking all the time. I'm going to give that a 5. And that wraps up side 1. We turn the record over and we go to side 2, which opens with $15 Draw, which is more of a country rock song than a country song. Kind of a letter. Guy's a musician. He's been a musician, and he's on the road and playing clubs, and never really made it, but made it well enough to stay out on the road and play live. But it's kind of a letter to his mom type song, which is a typical country trope there. Yeah, I'm going to give that a 7.5. It's a really fun song. I do know that, like I said, Ringo didn't write any of the songs on this album. These guys in Nashville wrote them for him, so that's why it's kind of surprising to see the line about what was his uncle or his dad, that he found the guitar in the boot of his car. And I'm kind of surprised that guys in Nashville in 1970 would know what the boot of a car was. It's the trunk, I believe, if you're not familiar. So that's kind of a cool line, a little bit of Englishness creeping into the Nashville, Tennessee country album. So yeah, 7.5 I think I gave that. Second song, Wine, Women, and Loud Happy Songs. Kind of just back to generic country here. It, uh, so song. I'm just gonna give that one a 4. Is all on that one. Third song is "I Wouldn't Have You Any Other Way," which just put me in the that you're driving through Texas early Sunday morning and you stop at the Dairy Queen to get something to eat, and this sounds like something that'd be coming out of the jukebox when you walk in. Type song, and Ringo's in great voice for it. So I'm going to give that a 6.5. Pretty good song. Fourth song is Loser's Lounge, which is a downbeat lyrics, kind of a mournful, sad song, but the most upbeat and energized song of the set so far, musically speaking. Fun song, good song. I'm going to give that an 8. Fifth song is Waiting, which is just a sad, mournful, bittersweet ballad that's someone singing about waiting for someone to come back. In a sense, you don't know if it's unrequited love, you don't know if it's about lost love, you don't know about if it's somebody that died and they're waiting to be with them again type song. Could be any of those things, could apply to it. Nice, good ballad. I'm going to give that a 9. So we go to the sixth song, which is the last song of the album, Silent Homecoming. The drumming, and I know it's a bunch of guys in Nashville, but kind of reminds me of Charlie Watts' style of drumming. Charlie, of course, from the Rolling Stones. And good, strong anti-war song. Of course, Vietnam was going on at this time, but it doesn't really name check Vietnam. So even though that's what they're talking about, it could apply to the war that's going on now, or any war really. So it's Ringo in serious mode, which you don't see all that often or hear all that often. So that's good to see, good to hear, and good closer. It's thought-provoking closer, if nothing else. I'm going to give that an 8 to end the album, and I'm going to give the album overall a 7. I think this really suits him. Oh, but wait, there's bonus material because Beaucoups of Blues was released as a 45. I don't think it did. I looked at the chart position. I can't remember, but it got up to number 32 or something like that. So it didn't do great. But on the flip side is a song called Coochie Coochie, which was I don't think it's ever been released on a Ringo album. I'm not. It's sure, maybe it's on Blast from the Past. I don't remember. I don't think so though. But and he's had some other greatest hits. It might be on one of those. But that's just a great, really almost rock and roll song. Again, there's traces of country music feel to it also, but more rock and roll, kind of almost rhythm and blues. It sort of reminds me of Joined Together by The Who in a lot of ways, but and it's also sort of a Cajun Zydeco touches in there, sort of a mix of pop, well, not pop, but really rock and country and Cajun, and just sort of really cool song. I love that, and that surprised that should have been a hit if it would have got airplay, and I'm giving Coochie Coochie a 10. I like that a lot, and it's a shame it's not on the album here. There were some other things I think that came out as extras on the CDs later on when those came out, but there's quite a few other songs that were recorded that were not released, and I don't know if they've all been bootlegged or not. And some of them I think are just musical jams that go on for 15 minutes or so. So I'm not sure how interesting those would be anyway. Maybe good, maybe not, maybe just sort of boring. But yeah, 7 overall. I really think that country music suits Ringo, and it's a shame that he never did a follow-up, another country album. I know there was some talk about it before his latest album, not Postcards from the Edge, but Give More Love, but nothing seems to have come of that. On the other hand, if he were to do a country album now, it'd probably be all these modern country singers working with him, and modern country is the old country. I can respect the artistry there, with few exceptions. I'm not a big fan of it. Modern country is the stuff of the last 30 years. It's complete shit. So that would be a shame to see him get racked in with a bunch of that, you know, hat country stuff. But if he were to do another album, this old time, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s type country stuff, that'd be fun to see. But yeah, so 7 overall. And if you're a big country fan, you may like this. You may think or you may think that it's just some English guy from the Beatles trying to do country music. I don't know. And even if you don't like country music much, you might give it a shot because you might find that it's kind of fun album. Because, like I said, I'm not a huge fan, but I like this album pretty well. I enjoy it. It's fun. And uh, we'll be back with more Ringo reviews. Probably not today, though. But have a good weekend, everybody.